We hope. Hello, everyone, and welcome. Yes, my name is ArrowFyre. Welcome to Let's Talk Transformers episode 9. I am joined this evening by three wonderful co-hosts. I have PrimeTime Moff, Graham. I have Sam, SamsFormers, and Rohan from Rohan's Corner. Gentlemen, thank you very much for coming along. Let's play the very loud intro.
Let's talk Transformers.
It's not as loud as you might think.
No, it wasn't that bad.
No, it's always think it's worse than it is. Right, so let's go through a couple of items of news. Now, the four of us were at TF Nations Minicon, just gone, and let's cover off with a reveal, if you like, from that. You can see that, I hope.
Yeah, indeed.
So this was right at the end. Whilst this was at the Minicon, it's for Big TF Nation in August next year. Evan Michael Lee is going to be there, which is great. Voice actor from of Jazz from Transformers 1, as well as voice acting the likes of Spider-Man 2, Fortnite Chapter 2, and many others. But that's a nice headline act, would we not say? Would we not?
Yeah, very, very cool.
Yeah. Nice. But going on, we saw other getting the right screen.
Is that also the very first reveal of that logo? Now they change their kind of logo every year. I feel as if it's the first time. Anyway, it's the first time I've seen that kind of new.
Oh yeah,
polygon design.
I noticed that at the time. Yeah, it's almost like G2 in its slantedness, I think.
Yeah.
But we were at the Minicon. These are some photos. These are actually Sam's photos, if I remember. Sam, these are yours.
they are.
So thank you very much for allowing me to pinch them. Is my first Minicon, and I did say that in a roundup review. There I am, just strategically placed in the middle. Sam, you've got to stop following me around with a camera.
Yeah, you just look at it, you're just staring at it. Yeah.
Right by the PrimeTime store and RJ buying something off Rohan in this sort of area. As we were all there, what was the feedback from yourselves from the Minicon? What are your views on it?
I'll go first then. I enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. I had the pleasure of being beside Rohan. We got beside Rohan at TFN in August. And Billy and I know that we got on really well. So I think going forward, I've said to Billy, and I hope Rohan feels the same, that it would be good to have him beside us. It's just good to have somebody that you can chat to, and then we can help out. So hopefully that'll continue. But no, it was good. It was a very different feel to it. Kind of very different kind of style of haul, but it was really cool. Personally, I could listen to the panels, so I got to listen to the Dreamwave panel, which was fantastic.
Yeah, it's something you don't get to do you? A big TF Nation, you're kind of kept away, so you got to hear a bit whilst doing work. Yeah,
I was very happy with that, because the two Manchester ones, and I know you've not been, but the two Manchester ones, the first one, it was in a proper separated off section, so they'd boarded it up. The one just gone, we were on one side of the hall, and the panel was on the other side of the hall, so we couldn't hear or see anything. So I enjoyed being able to listen to some of it and kind of watch some of it. It was cool.
Cool. Sam, Rohan, you guys enjoyed yourselves?
Yeah, it was good fun. I did enjoy it. I've not been to a Minicon before, so I had fun. Turns out I probably could have got there a lot easier on the train, from what I think. I've now been told that you can get to Reading on the Elizabeth line. I think that would have been a much easier journey than the 2-hour drive I took, but it was good. Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Well, touch and go, because the weather was atrocious that day.
Terrible.
So
Absolutely,
it probably wouldn't have made the trains much better. But I did have a bit of an arsey journey getting home. Nice bit dark and spray and everything else. But yeah, it could have been, and that's one thing that Billy said to me, that the Elizabeth line was much a part of it being at Reading as anything else. It's another form of connection, which is handy.
Absolutely.
But yeah, Rohan, you had a good time?
Yeah, absolutely. I loved it. My first minicon as well. Brought back some happy memories of, as Moff said, the kind of form factor of TFUK Con, where everyone's together, community feel, all in one room together all the time, if that makes sense. Although there was obviously the pub area, which I think you guys probably have a bit more to say about than I do. But yep, that was obviously separated. And then, of course, being able to hear the panels, being next to PTP, brilliant place to be as always. And I would suggest that for me, I thought that the hall itself was really grand. It was quite spacious. We didn't feel squashed in. There wasn't any people trying to squeeze past each other. Sometimes you get that at TF Nation or some of the other smaller sort of conventions, like Rollout Roll Call, for example, can be a little bit like that. But this had a grandiose feeling about it. And yeah, just to echo what you guys have said about transport, Lizzie Line definitely has quite a few links up to Reading, which is useful. And driving wise for me, it was perfect because it's only 20 minutes down the road from me. So
yeah, you're
brilliant.
very local, aren't you?
Absolutely, yeah, Berkshire boys.
Nice. So going on from the minicon, there was a certain store being opened, and I'll cycle through some of the photos. Sam and I were lucky to attend, and I've got a picture of it. But yeah, the Transformer store in Battersea. I thought I actually had the outside ones. I'm sure I do. But yeah, these are some of the photos from the day. It was a good day, wasn't it, Sam? We had a good time. It was a long day.
Indeed. Yeah, it was a long day. Very long. I think I left my house at 6:30 and got home at 10:30. So it was
Wow.
a long old day. Train troubles as well. Some of the lines were shut, but that's London for you, isn't it? But it was good. Yeah, it was a very, very good, fun day. And if nothing else, just walking around the Battersea Power Station is just phenomenal. It's a wonderful place.
Yeah, massively. Yeah, it was my feet and back by the end of the day were struggling. It was considering it's quite local for me, but yeah. It was just lovely to be asked, and it's now open to the general public. I do encourage anyone to just go and experience it. Robeson stuff was there. That was cool. Might be in someone's collections come soon. Might be in someone's stocking. Might be. Maybe. But seeing these things actually up close, and we were pretty up close. You could actually think, but seeing the Megatron, that was pretty something. That's huge, and you watch that thing transform 6 inches in front of your face. That's pretty cool.
That's very cool.
Yeah,
yeah.
So it's the first
and then
exclusive
massive
store,
pro.
right? Of Transformers exclusively anywhere in the world, is it, or at least in Europe?
Well, I was thinking about it. I was thinking it's definitely in Europe. It is, but haven't they thrown things open in?
I think in Japan they've got that big space bridge type Arc store, haven't they?
Universal Studios has its own wee kind of Transformers bit as well. Is that?
Yes. So
definitely for Europe.
Yeah, I thought that because when you come off the ride at Universal, they have a little store, but they say it is the first dedicated one. So
pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, we were there with actual Hasbro representatives, and obviously Russ was there all day. Very good of Russ to get us in, and we met Piper, who drew this drawing for Skybound and did an exclusive for the store. So this was nicely unveiled, and you can sort of see the hands and the arms are superimposed, so kind of brought to life, and even signed it as well. That was nice. It was a good day. Just go and experience it. There's a lot of sort of negative talk saying, "Oh, there's no toys there." There are toys. There are stuff there, but it's not a toy shop. It's not Smith's Toys. Don't go. It
feels more like an experience store rather than a toy store.
Yeah.
So I thought it was cool.
I think if you want to see the variety of things that you can get from the Transformers universe, this is the place to go, right? Everything from one end of the spectrum to the other. Let's take toys out of it for the moment. Of course, there are toys there, but everything else you can think of is probably in that store, I'm guessing.
And I think they will. They said they will stock more toys and change the stock throughout. I mean, I guess there's a heck of a lot of people that are doing licensed products, so it's a good showcase for them, isn't it? It's a place to sell it. I think there'll be more toys in there. Maybe I saw a comment of why there wasn't a whole bunch of G1, in a
Display case.
display case or
Display.
something.
Yeah.
And I go, it's a museum. You find that, not a shop. But I get it. Maybe they could have that. A set of masterpiece figures as a display case, possibly. But then it would be, well, why can't I buy them? But it will always be something different.
Where does the rabbit hole end?
Yeah.
But as I think Moff said it right. It is an experience. I mean, here you got like clocks, books, manga, mugs. There's everything. There's plushies galore. There's the Galactic Trials video game. It was photo opportunities and. It was. I loved it. I mean, I don't think these were for sale, but they were pretty cool. They're sort of
the one you had a picture. I think it was like the Soundwave with the neon bit around it. That looked great.
That looked really neat.
Cool.
If you get a sneak that away for me, I'd have had that. Had that ready.
I've got a bag down here with your name on it.
I
I do.
I know you do.
I want to try and take one of these bumblebees away, but they might have noticed.
Maybe, yeah.
I wouldn't have got that on the tube. I don't think.
No, probably not.
That's a good
that was cool. This was where you could. This is effectively like a green screen. So you took your photo here, and you may have seen like you can have your photos with Alita Grimlock like looming over you in the background. You had to stand at certain points, and it was like edited in. And we just stood there just to have a photo of the four of us: Sam and I, Russ and Sixo. So that was
good.
That was nice.
Nice.
Yeah, it was a long day. It was good, and I said to Warren, who was running the shop, said, "Could have done with somewhere to sit down." To be honest, because we did kind of camp out in a Starbucks, didn't we?
Yeah, my feet. The next day, I got up and thought, "Oh, I've walked too much there in the wrong shoes." I had a comment. It was today actually when I was at football on TikTok from my video of the store, and someone just replied or sent me a message saying, "Where are you?" Oh no, something. Are you in London? And I went, no, not right now. Well, no, I'm not in London. Oh, where are you then? I said, yeah, wherever. Oh, I thought you were in London. I went, no, sorry, I'm not. I guess so. Is your store not in Battersea then? And I went, well,
your store.
I said, hey, it's not mine. I wish it was. And well, yes, it is in London, but yeah, it's not mine. Just this. Are you in London? Why are you? Where I thought you were in London. I'm like, are you stalking me? This person.
Everyone wants a bit of Sam.
Wow,
I was well pleased, of course, because I am South London, so it's about as close as it possibly can be for me. It was a doddle, which was nice, and I did, come away with a mug. That's one of my purchases. So yeah, it was very nice. But back to toys. We seem to always come back to toys. Missing Link. So this has been dropped, yesterday, wasn't it? This started to appear. Missing Link, G1, Sunstreaker, and Corden then. And I want to talk about this a bit later on. So I'm not going to get too bogged down on the topic of Missing Link just yet. But what do we think of this particular figure?
Love them. I am over them. And I've never had a proper G1, a decent G1 Sunstreaker. So this is, if you were to ask me what bots I would have wanted as a Missing Link, this would have been right up there. We know the mold's pretty much gone, so there's no chance of getting it. I know there's talks that there's like parts of molds still in Takara's vaults, but we're kind of comfortable this one's wasn't going to reissue, so that's pretty cool. And then the Corden just as a police car is just cool. I mean, so I will be getting both of these. I think you all know my feelings towards Missing Link. I think Missing Link has been an absolute revelation, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm very much looking forward to these and the Bumblebee and Cliffjumper and what's next. What are we going to get there? I'll see what else we're going to get. Great fun.
This was announced a while back, wasn't it? This one.
It was teased, but I don't know if we've actually seen actual footage of it.
Prototype, wasn't it? It was just a prototype.
That's it.
Was that when it was? That was when they announced or they showed off that they were attempting to do the RC. We know that's not. It was that we're working on it. But the grey prototype, I think the coloured version looks better. Like it should do, but the proportions look better because it's now coloured. Just looks great. Cannot wait.
Yeah, absolutely. Rohan, you pleased with that?
Yeah, I'll just echo what Moff said, really, which is it was probably the best choice of figure from the season 1 lineup that they could have gone for in terms of what hadn't been done as a reissue before, and everybody's been yearning for a Sunstreak. If you look at the sort of used market, then he's one of the hardest ones to come by, especially complete. So it makes perfect sense. And also from the toy perspective, the toy itself was a little bit rigid in robot mode, so this is exactly what you want, right? And for me, Corden,
Go on, mate.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, for me, Corden, I've never had that figure in any shape or form, so it's just great to have that character.
Yeah, I think this is gonna tick the box. Like you say, the G1 toy wasn't as rigid, so it's just filling a gap for us, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, cool. And then with today's breaking news, and these were taken from TM Reviews, where I first saw them, but we're going to get a new masterpiece, Sunstreaker, DX9, who are not dead, surprisingly. I'll zoom in a bit because I think that's a wee bit small. I've been crying out for a new masterpiece Sunstreaker because I've had the Takara version twice. It's disappointed me twice. I've never had the Bad Cube one. And just thinking we need kind of anyone. It could be Fans Toys, but it can be anyone. Just throw another one out. And finally, it's taken a while because Takara one's been out for a long, long time. DX9 is here. So, go on, Moff. Let's start with you.
So I got the Takara one when it first came out, and I was blown away because it was just kind of such a change to what the first masterpieces were. I still have a lot of love for it. Like you, I think that it's definitely needed an improvement. Bad Cube didn't do enough for me. I was holding off thinking Fans Toys were going to be the next one to kind of kick off. This looks great. This looks really nice. I think the both mods look really nice as well, which is sometimes not the case. But I think they both look really clean. So I will be getting this for myself. It's lovely. Love a Lambo. I mean, I'll keep it to the Takara one because I love a Lambo. So I'm happy to keep it, but that looks nice.
It's beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm thinking that the Bad Cube one, I can't say too much. I've never handled of it, but I always felt that looked a little bit, I don't know, just like I felt the face was wrong, felt the shoulders looked too compressed, but then again, I just wasn't that impressed with the Takara one, and I just felt it was desperately in need of an upgrade. And I'm not going to say this is going to absolutely hit all notes, but it's nice to just have another option, I suppose. This will be things that DX9 do that the Takara one will do better, any other way around.
Yeah.
Whatever. But the alt modes, really, when you put them like that, they doesn't really look like a bad alt mode there. The alt mode for the Takara version is actually quite good, although the ones I've had have got terrible ground clearance for the wheels and they barely roll.
Agree.
But I'm just glad to see something else. I'd like to see a Fans Toys go at it where it's really like dedicated time. To making it look really tune accurate, hyper tune.
Yeah, that's what the other thing I was going to say about this. The robot mode here and also the vehicle mode, I don't know if it's just the pictures or the lighting that was taken on the shots, but really does have a huge glossy effect on him. And it definitely has a tune kind of aesthetic from the sheen of the red and the blue and the white coming out from me.
Yeah, that head sculpt does look good. The more I look at it, actually, I like the kind of sculpting around it because I always felt the Takara one looked very sunken, and this, well, less said about the Bad Cube one, the better. But this head looks pretty decent. So yeah, I'm just surprised to see DX9 again, to be honest, because I thought they were going to go into Legend scale. It seems to be what they were throwing out.
This is the thing I was going to say. Is this possibly a take on DX9 plus Magic Squares? Because they seem to be teaming up quite a lot and then blowing up Magic Squares Legends figure and improving on it, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
that's a good shout. Yeah, it could be. Yeah.
And of course, as Mix has pointed out, I mean, it could potentially start a new Masterpiece Carbot line, because I said just generally the Masterpiece Carbot scale is a wee bit outdated now, and they're all suffering in one form or another. But then again, Fans Toys are working to that. They've done Mirage, they've done, they're working through the mini bots, which keeps in with the likes of Prowl, Wheeljack, and whatever else. But they do like to stay away from the big players, with the exception of Jazz. They like to keep away. Fans Toys Wheeljack, do you? Yeah. Okay, well, that's all I've particularly got for news. It was a nice thin one this week. And that's going to go on to, well, you'll be pleased to know there's no quiz this week. Sorry. You get a week off. But yeah, there was no quiz this week. I've been fighting off a cold myself. But I will go into the first topic of discussion to you all, gentlemen. It's actually Sam's topic that he suggested. So you know where we're going to go with this one. To KO or to not KO?
I thought you were going to go for the other one, but anyway.
No, the other one. How many? Whose stream is it? So let's lay out the land. Knockoffs. So okay, I'm trying to think how to broad brush it. Let's start with Takara Masterpiece. Straight reps. You generally pay less. Maybe what? Half to maybe even as low as a third of the price, depending on the figure. Some can be really good, some can be absolutely awful, and they are just straight copies, somehow made, procured. I mean, I'll go into my tin hat theories in a minute, and you guys know some of my theories on it. But you do get people out there who say, no KO for me. I'm going to be a purist. I'm going to put your hand up. I'm going to be well away from that. That's not for me. Da, 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 da. And then, of course, we have fourth party, which can be upgraded, better, improved, but not straight KOs. But I'll include that for discussion. So, gentlemen, who wants to have it first? To KO or not to KO? Where do you stand?
I think Sam's topic. Sam should go first. Give us his opinion.
Yeah, exactly.
Then we'll tell him why he's wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I don't contradict myself with anything I've got in here.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm going to look for the knockoffs in your collection while you're talking.
No, don't get them. I think that's
right. Moving on.
End of discussion.
Yeah. No. Word it right. I don't.
Is that blanket against all KOs, or like Ian says, you've got KOs that are improvements or taken. See, I've got like the Jetfire K. It's a KO of a Robocross that it's a KO, but it's then repainted to be Jetfire and produced in a G1 Jetfire box. So it's still a KO, but it's not an exact copy of what was.
It's
produced,
not straight rip, is it?
So
Yeah,
I think that lane is more agreeable to me than a complete. So some of the so I'll get a good example. The is it Pango Toys? They did that massive Prime that's basically Transform Element, I think.
Transform Element or Magic Square, I can't remember. Yeah.
One of the two made really big. You could argue they have taken that design, but they made it bigger.
But they've done an alteration themselves.
Yeah, I don't see that as an exact copy of. They haven't just gone and nicked the file or whatever and made it. Fans Toys. What was the couple that were knocked off? The Astro Train,
Quietus, and Astro Train.
Yes, Astro Train.
Complete exact copies. To me, I think that's a no. That's where I think an exact copy of something is don't do it. I look at it and go, if you collect Fans Toys, for example, and you want a complete collection, but you buy a knockoff Astro Train, then you haven't got a Fans Toys collection or a complete one. It's not a Fans Toys figure. Yes, it is in a sense, but it's not made by them. Maybe, I don't know how it all works. But so I would look at it and go, if I want a Fans Toys figure, I want to buy one that is made by them, not someone who's stolen it. And that. I'm sure there's a million ways where I've contradicted myself and I'm going to fall down.
And we will find all of them, don't you worry.
But that's kind of where I sit. I think and the cheaper, I get it. And I look at it and go, well, save up. I'd rather save up for it if I had to get it. That, but that's just my opinion. But other things where it's they've taken an idea or taken a figure, made it bigger, added to it, made it different, repainted it, and changed some of the moldings or whatever. I think that's okay. I think, yes, yeah. I don't know.
Okay. Go on, Moff. Do you want to tell Sam how he's wrong?
Okay, I think the challenge with KO, like, and again, even at the straight KOs, there's some of them that I think are like more correct, because I think that's not the way to look at it. But for example, the Metro Titan G1 Metro Titan that kind of popped up on the scene this year. I don't collect G1, like I don't go out of my way to collect G1. I picked up more G1 at TFN this year than I've done in the past 20 years probably. But I picked up that KO because it was so cheap, and I thought, I'm going to give that a bash. And you know, I had a great time with it. I would never, ever even consider going down the line of buying the original one. So that KO has not taken somebody who, in my opinion, in my case, takes somebody who was going to buy the real thing and going to buy it. I bought it because it was cheap, and I thought, why not for that price? It's the same with, we go back to Sunstreaker, right? So, you know, you want a box G1 Sunstreaker just for a bit of fun display. I got the KO Devastator from Ben before he left last year. I have no doubt, if it hadn't come up, I wouldn't have went looking for a G1 Devastator to put up. There's a lot of them that you know, the newer releases stuff, I wouldn't buy a straight KO of one of the new releases stuff. I just don't really see the point in it. But when it's stuff like that isn't readily available and isn't going to be on your radar of, I'm not going to buy a G1 Devastator, I'm not going to buy a G1 Metro Titan, there are certainly ones that I would never pick up original, and I'm only picking up because it's cheap. If I didn't pick that up, I'd go buy something else. I wouldn't go and buy an original. Then there's the ones that are improvements, and some of the improvements and stuff are absolutely incredible. Like, I think to the Infant Transformations Megatron, which had English speaking like on its gun. So like, that's what the kind of simple bits like that. It's not a huge change, but it's a clever change. So there are aspects of, you know, if you're never going to buy something, then you buying a KO has no impact on the value of the original one. If you're going, I'm a G1 box collector, but I'm going to buy a couple of the knockoffs to put in with it, I think you're in the kind of same boat as Sam said with the Fans Toy stuff. If you're going to collect that stuff, generally, I think if you're a collector of that, you want the real thing anyway. So again, I don't think it harms that market, but I could be wrong.
Well, seeing as Rohan's doing a shopping list there, I'll go next onto that one. I hear you furiously.
I'm making notes.
Oh yeah. Well, you can add to them and you can have the final word on it. I've got quite a few KOs in my collection, and let me tell you why. First option is availability, particularly if you just arrive for something late and all the officials sold out, and you're thinking, crap, what do I do? Well, this is the only thing that's left. Well, it's that or nothing. Okay, fine. Although I have since sort of worked out, you do kind of get everything eventually anyway. You find a way. There's a reissue. There's something. You find a way. But availability is one side of it. I've used this one line before, so I'll say it again. I've got Masterpiece Tracks. I don't care about him. He cost me 20 quid. I'm not going to spend 90 quid on Tracks. I don't care. But he's literally just over my shoulder. Where is he? There. And he's just kind of sitting there. And I've got the same with Smokescreen. Don't care. He's there. He's going to sit in his alt mode. Fine. But saying that again, I picked up MP36, and mine is a KO, but I've had that so long now, and that was at a time when I didn't know what KOs were. And when I got it, I thought, this is fine, this is great. I still can't transform the bloody thing, you know, because it's MP36. But I picked up other ones and gone, oh, this is a floppy mess. And this is where, again, I don't mind KOs, because you can't complain when the quality's crap, because it's a floppy mess. Of course it is. You spent $19.99 on it. What did you expect? So if you're willing to spend the reduced amount, and the Russian roulette of it could be a floppy mess, like my Sideswipe was, absolutely terrible, then I've got no qualms. But if you want something a bit better, now Fans Toys ones, I get Sam's point on that. I can understand that, because if you're looking at a premium figure, your mind's going towards that higher end quality, and therefore everything that comes at a cost. You can't. I feel like you're almost going back on yourself if you want. I want that top quality figure, but I want a cheaper version of it. It's a bit like, well, hold on. Do you want Quietus, their Cyclonus, with all its bells and whistles? Do you want this, that, and the other? Yeah, I don't know.
The interesting one with the Fans Toys KO is I'll go with Acoustic Wave. Acoustic Waves, slightly. It's not a 1-for-1 copy. It's slightly different. The hips are slightly different, and its waist slightly different when you compare them 1-to-1. Because I had Greg's official one kind of broke, and I was like, let's have a look at, just to get a KO one and try and kind of swap it out. And as soon as we realised that, I was like, oh, that's an interesting bit. But to look at, they're the same. But for us then, so after that, I was like, we need to have one. I need to have one of the 3 of the KOs, so that if somebody's trying to sell me something, trade it in or try to claim it as being official, I need to be able to say that's not official. Like, I don't want to resell. Imagine I resold you an Acoustic Wave and said this is an official, and then you're like, well, this isn't. I know officials. I had one with Fans Toys that kind of controversial itself. If I said it's a genuine, a legitimate Fans Toys, and you get it in, I want to be able to tell you that it definitely is. So I have one of the 3, each of the 3 KOs on my table through there, so that if somebody trades something, and I can then identify, is this the KO or is this the legitimate? Because that's important when you're reselling. And I know Rohan will look at that as well when he's buying in collections. If somebody's saying, I'm selling you a masterpiece collection, you need to know if that's official or not. It's a risky market, to do that. And some of the KOs are dead obvious, because I think there's Takasa or something that was quite often the ones in the MP bots. But when they're so close, that buying and reselling is challenging.
Yeah. Very quickly, before I go to Rohan, get his view on it, with the fourth party, the upgrading ones, again, I'm more for that, because what's the one I've got? The RC. It's the Takara one. Yeah, there. But it's the Robot Rose. It's a fourth party one, and it hasn't got that weird drop down chest. It's like sunken way too far. So it's just like same figure, but upgraded. But then, do you know what? I remember watching a video on Ben's Collectibles, and he had a knockoff of Beast Wars Takara Tigertron, and it was a Jungle Warrior, and he had it alongside the official one, and he said, "There's no difference. Different packaging. It wasn't like one of these Takara ones where it's completely mirrored, but it was, to look at, it looked just the same, not even any fading." And even he said at the end of it, I mean, it's not the official one, but it looks exactly the same, and it's half the price. What are you going to expect people to do? And that's where it comes down to. And I've said this before as well. I don't like the idea of pricing people out the fandom. If people can't afford the higher end copies, and it's like, well, I'm not going to get it, or at least maybe KO gives you a way to afford it.
What I'm saying to that is that in this fandom, there are toys at every single budget.
Yep.
I can't afford a Ferrari, so guess what? I don't drive a Ferrari. Yeah. So in the nicest way, if you can't afford a masterpiece, there are other options available to you.
True.
Especially now, Hasbro's stuff is so much better than it previously was. The main line is really strong. So if you can't afford something, you don't have it. And I think there's also a lesson to be learned in that. Don't just go, I'm going to go and get a KO just to kind of afford it. It's like, okay, maybe you save up and you get less of them.
Yeah, fair point. Go on, Rohan. I've taken your time.
That's all right, no worries. Yeah, I think you guys have all made excellent points. You've probably covered it all, to be honest with you. But for me, when it comes to straight KOs, I personally don't think they are that common anymore. I mean, please excuse me, I'm not that au fait with the Masterpiece line, so I'm not keeping up with all of those. There's probably more in that line than there are in others. But certainly, I don't see the old school kind of Hasbro KOs, or there aren't that many Legends KOs. There's a couple, but there's not that many straight knockoffs of original 3P toys which are coming out in the Legend scale. I do have a KO Hasbro toy which I picked up in the last couple of years, a KO Masterpiece toy which I picked up in the last couple of years, and a KO Legends toy which I picked up in the last couple of years. So I guess I am kind of the target audience for KOs, but it really comes down to, well, why do I buy these? Because of the points you guys have all made. They are ridiculously cheaper than the original. They are relatively close in quality. And I'm not really that fussed about collecting other characters or figures from that particular manufacturer or that particular line or that particular scale. I just picked them up because I thought they were cool, but I don't want to spend 100 quid. I want to spend 20, 30, 40 quid on it, whatever is the case. And if you don't, collect that line, then that's the affordable way to get that scale or that manufacturer or that, that style, if you like. Contrary to what Moff was saying, I know, and I totally agree, Hasbro are doing a lot of great stuff now, and it is far, far more cost effective to buy a Hasbro product than a third party one, generally speaking, right? And so my Hasbro product that I did buy a KO of, I did it because I wasn't that fussed about the line, and I just couldn't get the figure, and I just didn't want to pay more than retail for it. So I was like, you know what, this will do. It looks okay. I'll just do that.
Yeah, that's a bit where I was with tracks. But I actually just want to pick up one from the chat. Excuse me, Andy Gold around G1 Swoop, because we have seen KO Dinobots appear, and let's be honest, in the UK we did not get Swoop.
Correct.
And you end up getting like £200. I've seen Swoop regularly go for £200 of G1 Swoop. So you can get an entire G1 Dinobot KO set for what, 80?
Yep.
It's a bit like, but that's because we were starved on it. Maybe Swoop is a bit of a rare exception because he's and a bit the same with Predaking. Because I don't think we got Predaking back in the day either.
Probably not. No.
I think
so. Yeah, we shouted you down, Sam. I reckon.
No. It's all very. It's an opinion, isn't it? And it's a discussion. I think it's great. I think one to your points regarding a knockoff. To me, if something's not being made anymore, like the G1 collection that was made 40 years ago, you're not going to get a box Dinobot set, are you? We just can't, unless you're going to pay a ridiculous amount of money for them, and or your Russ, who seems to have, the most magnificent thing we've ever seen. But I think if that's available as a KO, it's something that you can't get anymore or isn't actively being sold, that doesn't seem too bad, if that makes sense, because you're never going to get it, and someone's giving you an opportunity to have this replica of something from way back then. That I don't think that seems too bad. I think it's just if it's something actively being made. The 86 Prime, for example, if they KO'd that now and that was for 40 quid or 40 quid, while the current one's still being sold, I think, and people are buying that, I think that's wrong. But, and my first figure that got me back into all this was an unknowing KO Prime that I bought from China because I didn't know anything about KOs. Bought a Prime on eBay and realized it was a fake. That sparked my whole this. But yeah.
So you're saying KOs are a good thing because they've kick-started your collection.
Depends.
See, I got you back round eventually.
No, that was one of the things I was going to say. In a way, it is helping keep the brand alive. I know we're saying that it's taken away from Hasbro, it's taken away from the original and official stuff, but actually, it just keeps more momentum.
No publicity is bad publicity.
Yeah, and just quickly, sorry, Rohan, on what you said, and this is going to again contradict everything I've been saying, but again, you see a Masterpiece Megatron and it's 250 quid brand new, and someone goes, not a chance, I collect Legends, I'm never going to pay that. But if it's 60 quid and someone wants to just try one just to see it, I still don't think it should have been done and knocked off. But if someone's just buying one of them just to maybe just see what it's like, maybe that's
You've just called me out exactly there. I've got Fans Toys Astro Train KO, whatever it's called, and I don't collect Masterpiece. I don't collect Fans Toys. I just bought that one figure because it looks freaking awesome. It doesn't fit in with anything else in my collection, but it wasn't the same price. So I was like, you know what, it looks great. I'll buy that.
Yeah, I mean, we can put all of our morals aside when it comes down to 60 quid, can't we?
Yeah.
So we're as cheap as anyone else.
Mm.
Okay, moving on then to next topic. Something that's happened to me recently, unfortunately. Breakages. And I'm going to go around the room. What is your best/worst breakage? You can have a couple, but what one hurt the most, and what one, I don't know, do you enjoy or laugh at the most? So, go on. I'll tell you what. I'll start. Actually, I'll start. The one that I'm not even remotely ashamed to say made me cry. G1 Metroplex.
Oh, I was going to say the same.
G1 Metroplex on my 34th. No,
Jesus.
On my I think
last Tuesday.
Are you even 34 yet?
I am. Oh, yeah, unfortunately I am. But I was 7, something like 7, 8, 9, something like that. And because I'm a little bit younger than some, I got a lot of people's casts off of G1 toys. Someone was getting out of Transformers, a friend of mine. He had G1 Metroplex. Every time I went to his house, I played with it. I was so happy. And one day he said to me, "You can have that." I was like, wow, I had it in my possession for 90 minutes and it broke around the midsection.
Yeah, as they do.
The noticeably thin part, and I jazzed him. Jazzed him. And I have 2 Metroply. And I cried. I cried and cried. So there you go. That's the one that kind of I look back on that still hurts this day. One that another one I'll say. I've got it down there. It's X-Transbot's repaint. I did a video on it a long time ago as well of drag strip in Tyrrell motor racing car, the 6-wheel Formula 1 car.
Yeah.
And I'm big sucker for the paint scheme and 6-wheel Formula 1 cars. It looks great. Get it. And other people have had this as well. You have to move back an engine. As if you've experienced drag strip transformation, you have to move back the engine to be part of the chest. It was so overly tight and it broke. And it's the plastic hinge that held the chest snapped. Contacted Shozi, who contacted X-Transbot, sent a replacement part, but it was such an integral piece of the build. I either would take it apart if I could. I don't think I can reassemble it. So it's kind of dead to me forever. And I kind of just have it in auto mode with the engine sitting on top. And I kind of did that. And I'm like, well, that is literally the straw that's broke the camel's back. I can't do anything with this now. That's dead to me. For what was just one hinge, but it was so overly tight. So there you go. There's mine. Rohan, what hurt the most? What was your worst?
Well, this is actually quite a recent one. I picked up a mint inbox G1.5, if some people may call it G2, Thunderclash. And if you've come across this figure, you will know it's
rare. The one that's been going around on AliExpress or something?
Yes. Yeah, it's been on AliExpress for a little while, to be fair. But to get an original one, it's rare as hen's teeth. To get a box one, you're looking up north of 200 quid for a really good one. And so I picked this up. I was over the moon with it. I hadn't intended to pick it up. It was at TFN last year from a collector friend of mine who lives in Europe. And he gave it to me. I was like, do you know what? I just want to transform it once. And you can all guess what happened. Gold plastic syndrome got me. I smashed the chest on, the head hinge on the cab section, and it was there in my hands, and I was just like, And so then I had to fork out 50 quid for a replacement cab, which is not in as good condition. But it just pained me too much to see it there, broken, with everything else completely pristine, everything else complete, and it was just like, But I'll tell you this now, I will never transform that cab again. Forever it will be in cab mode. Forever it will be displayed until I sell it or, I die, whatever. That is how it is going to be.
Fair enough. What about you, Moff? Metroplex, is it?
It's Metroplex. I've had 3 that have broken my time.
Oh, bloody
My
hell.
original for a childhood.
3?
The
I
Metroplex
got
killer.
one. I know.
I was going to say, yeah.
I got a replacement one at a cabinet sale in the 90s, and it broke. And then my most recent one, my eldest broke. And that hurt because it wasn't me breaking it. But I also had a spare. I'll be honest, I had a spare by that point. It was the only reason he got to play with it, because I just thought, and my youngest has just broke just this week. One of the legs off G1 Scorponok, but again, it was this kind of junker one. So it's I don't let them play with ones that I'm nervous about. Touch wood. I haven't had many breakages and at any point. I think the only other one that hurt was when I was a kid was Hot Rod. I broke the back off the Hot Rod, so he kind of when he transformed that robot, he didn't have his yellow lines. But no, I don't think I've had. My bigger one is when people claim that items have been broke when they've arrived and they haven't. And I had somebody tell me that at the convention, that they had bought a toy and it had arrived broken, and then I refunded them, and then they told me that they had actually broke it during transformation.
Yeah.
Why?
Really? What, after you'd refund?
That's not even a white lie. And I've had that.
Sam, why would you do that?
You said you weren't going to say a word.
I'll tell you this, Moff. It's even worse when it's an old figure. Like I sold a 2009 movie figure on eBay.
You've talked about that story.
Yeah. Oh, mate, Jesus Christ! Mint in sealed package. Sold it to the guy. Picked it up. He's like, "It came broken in the box." I'm like, "What do you want me to do about it? It's a 20-year-old toy. Like, if it was either broken to begin with, or you've broken it, and I can't do it. Anyway, sorry."
Yeah. Go on, Sam. What hurts the most for you?
I've got 2. One, I think it was a G1 Megatron, and I can see myself at my nan's house, and we opened it, and I started playing with it, and must have broken it, or started to break it, or something, because of how ridiculously flimsy that thing was. And I think my mum took it back to the shop and got her money back, and almost said, "This is unplayable, if in a sense. This is silly." I remember that because I can see myself at my, opening it, and I didn't have it for very long. So I think that was no, you're not having that. I'm taking that back, get my money back, because you're going to break it if I already hadn't. But the one that haunts me to this day, slightly dramatic, but it does. It's Lego. It's not Transformers. It was. It must have been a Christmas. Me and my brother, I think we got a Lego airport at the time. I can't remember what one, but we built it, and we had a plane, we had all the stuff and playing with it. And I remember opening the door at the bottom of the stairs and letting the dog upstairs, and the dog just knew where we were and just ran into the room and just obliterated this airport. We never ever found all the bits. There's probably still bits still in my mum's house somewhere. And we spent so long building it, and it just went. Yeah, I remember that. That was a horrible one, right?
So you don't mind if it's Lego or such, because you can rebuild it, but you haven't got the pieces. How could you?
No, it was one of them that you almost went, "Oh, I'm not doing that again,"
Just out of anger.
Yeah.
I mean, just because I've got them over my shoulder. Masterpiece Hot Rod. MPO9. Now, that is notorious for breaking at the knees, the exploding knees. And I haven't seen the knees explode, but I do have like a mental image of it just standing there and go, just like out on the side, like someone's put some detonating charges on it. But I have broken him. I broke him, not on the first transformation, might have been second or third or whatever. I'm putting it there for taking photos of it. And it completely snapped on the waist. And I was like, great. And he sort of holds because he kind of sits in the trailer. You kind of link him in and with his big, wings, as it were, his backpack bit. And he's so forever. He's a Hot Wheels now. He's just staying in that mode. He's fine. But if I try to put him, he's like Metroplex. He's cut in the middle. So
you jazzed him, man. You jazzed him.
I jazzed him. I done jazzed him. Yeah. I've actually got a couple that I've broken like that. I have an MMC hoist as well. Yeah, that broke in the middle. Maybe I'm the problem. But yeah, I don't know.
I'm going to have
Go on,
to
Moff,
change
you
my
were
mind
gonna
about
say.
sending you toys.
Yeah, you're not doing yourself any favours,
I'm
yeah?
I'm
You
very
break it,
careful
you
with the
buy
ones
it.
you send me. I know. That's why I'm very careful.
Oh,
I was
the Lego
very, very
one.
careful with Gary.
I was thinking of the Lego one when you're saying that. Like, I've got the Lego Death Star, and it's moved house twice,
Oh, God.
and it's never been dismantled. It's literally been driven with somebody holding it, and it is the most terrifying drive. Even more so than when my wife was in labour, or when we're bringing the kid home from the hospital. At least they've got a bit car seat. Watching somebody holding the Death Star, the Lego Death Star, and like wee bits would get nicked off, and it's like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my. Touch wood. It's now in a kind of permanent place. I'll never move it again. But I think there is an aspect of like there are some of the especially the third party stuff, or like you just said that kind of rhythms stuff that I just won't touch now. Like it's on my shelf and I won't touch it because I know there's no point. Like there is a chance of breaking it, and do I want to experience the transformation enough to risk breaking it? And 99% of the time, I'm going to say no. You know, I've got so many toys that I could transform. Like, I think that's the aspect of the Transformers as well. When you know you've got something that is at risk of it, I get the aspect of like, I think if I got a Thunder Clash, that's why I've never really went for a Thunder Clash, because I'd want to transform it.
Yeah.
Like, when I'm getting something I've never experienced, I want to transform it. I don't want to risk that with something. You know, you've heard the story at a BotCon. Somebody bought a Black Zarek and literally opened it and it was shattered. That terrifies me. So that I go back to our previous conversation. Would you buy a KO of it to experience it so you don't need to worry about it? Because if you break it, you buy imagine they bring a black. There's a a KO company doing a KO Scorponok just now. They're doing the CAD works for it, and there's talks that they're going to do a Black Zarek. That's a far safer way to do it, to enjoy it. Why buy something that you risk it breaking and not enjoying, like that Thunder Clash? You know, there's a KO Thunder Clash out there that I've heard negatives of that breaking quite easily. But it's 20 quid. Okay.
Yeah. This is just it. Like you don't mind if that breaks. You cry if it was £200.
Well, this is
G1 Thunder Crash.
Yeah. What I was going to say is, where's the limit? Like all those people who bought HasLab Unicron and they're sitting on effectively what is a gold mine now. How do they transport that from house to house? How do they transform it? How do they not worry
I'm
about
never moving house. I'm never moving house yet.
Move inside a Unicron. Just it's far easier.
Yeah, live inside. Yeah.
just orbit around.
I don't know how much. I don't know if I shared this well. Last year, our cat, who's no longer with us, come home with fleas, which is horrific. So we had to empty the house to get it like bombed. And I was like, they actually told us don't empty stuff. And I was like, I can't leave my collection in that room. Like the cat was never in the room, so I was fairly comfortable. It was okay, but I was like, I can't leave it with toxic stuff going on top of it. So we agreed that all the collection would come in here. I have never been so terrified because it wasn't like I had time to pack it like I did when I moved house. It was I had a night to empty my toy room, and I was convinced I lost accessories in that challenge, but I never broke anything. But putting the stuff in, I wasn't bubble wrapping them. I was having to just put masterpiece on masterpiece in the box, bringing through, bringing Fort Max through, bringing Brave Max through, bringing through Unicron, and it was terrifying because I wasn't going slow. I was having to go fast because it was like I had one night to empty the room. That was terrifying and an experience I never want to go through again. So they're up there and they'll never move it. And there is an aspect.
Sorry, it's just Andy's comment. All praise to our Lord and Savior Unicron.
Fort Max is that toy that I've talked about so much. That's my favorite toy. That I enjoy transforming it, but I still get nervous every single time I do it because if I break it and it breaks, that's not a cheap toy to replace.
No.
But that is a toy that is worth it for me because it's just every time I do it, I'm just like, this is the coolest experience.
Do you know, I think it's worse when both modes are good and you want to experience it. I know Nips has said the same thing. Like, I do believe you should transform Transformers, and I feel like that's a separate topic in itself, but it's part of it to be enjoyed. But my advice would be to anyone, if it's got a headline that it's bad and breakages are common, my God, heed the advice, because I've had it. People have said this is terrible, and lo and behold, it breaks. And it's like, Well, everyone said as much. So I do get that kind of trepidation of not wanting to do it. Before I got Fans Toys Cup, because I've never been that big a fan of Cup, I was going to get the first X-Transbot version. I had no intention of transforming it, and someone was selling it for £9. I'm like,
What?
good, you could sit there. Well, of course, it absolutely disintegrated if you looked at it. And I just thought, great, I could put you in bubble wrap on the shelf, and I just never look at you again. I just leave you there. And annoyingly, I didn't get it. But I thought, you know, if it is that bad, yes, I'd like to transform it to say I've done it and experience it. But if everyone says it's utterly disintegrates in your hand, then what's the point? You're throwing money away. But you know, there's moments, but some breakages. Yeah, I think my Rodimus one's funny because it didn't break on the bit that everyone said it was going to break. It broke on something else. But you know, they are terrible. That bit goes back to the KOs, doesn't it? If a KO breaks and it costs you 20 quid, well, it's only 20 quid. Okay, we go back onto Missing Link. I thought this is one to talk about because I haven't long got one. I've got the Sentinel Prime just down there. And my first experience of a Missing Link figure. Sam, I know you were very taken with Missing Link Prime when you got it.
Yes, sir.
But really, open it out. Missing Link seems to be not only here to stay, but kind of stretching its legs a little bit. Now we got Sunstreaker coming. So am I right in thinking in what's out there? We got Prime. We've got at least one version of Prime, if not two, isn't there?
Cartoon Prime, Toy Prime. Sentinel Prime,
and then we've got the Bumblebee and Cliff Jumper is out now.
Dropping this month.
Delivered.
Yeah, dropping this month.
Yeah. And then Sunstreaker and Corden, and they're talking about RC. I think RC is going to be an absolute ball ache for them to try and engineer. I don't envy them that one at all.
No.
Yes,
it'd be great to see it, but I feel that's going to be a nightmare. But what is your view on Missing Link, and what else are we going to see from it?
I think it's excellent. I would love to see RC, Unicron, Ultra Magnus, some of the molds that really got shafted when G1 came out, let's be honest, that were terrible. Ironhide and Ratchet, those kind of figures, and a new uptake on those specifically. I think that would really entice me to buy them. If they're going to do like something that was pretty decent in the first place, like, I don't know, Sideswipe's a good example. It was a reasonably good figure, but, you know, the articulation in robot mode wasn't the best. Then, yeah, I think that's great. There's some figures where I probably wouldn't go in on them. I mean, but I think overall it's going to be really popular. I think it's definitely here to stay.
Yeah, I think it is. I think the Prime's incredible. Figure of the year, almost. Probably there's something got to be doing something. Dead End would be it if it come out this year, but it won't.
I think Sam, that's not happening.
No, so I think it's up there for figure of the year. It I don't know. When you opened it, it just did something. I don't know what it was. It's what we should have had. It was spectacular. I think I pre-ordered the Bumblebee straight off as that come out, but I think I'm kind of over it now, and I'm just going to stop there. Not because I don't think they're all going to be brilliant. I might even get the Bumblebee because that toy, to the Prime, has some super nostalgic that Bumblebee toy. But I'm going to stop there, I think, because that Prime is back in its box and it's going to stay in its box.
Yeah,
because I don't know. I just looked at it on display and thought, no, I'm going to keep that in box. Yeah, so I think I'm over it, but I think they're wonderful. If makes sense.
I think that's really fair. I'm in the exact same boat. I bought both the original Primes. If I'm totally honest with you, don't pelt me with the tomatoes here. I haven't actually taken them out of the box yet. They're both there. They look splendid. I will get them out. Yes, I am one of them. I probably won't get any others unless it's something like we talked about earlier. Corden is a character I've never had before, so I'll probably going for him. But for the others, I'm not sure. It's another big pit to get down, isn't it? Another line to collect.
But it's like the point that we're saying is a load of stuff we kind of haven't got. Like I remember you saying, Sam, like this is a toy we should have got way back when. And you think about it, if we get like a fully articulate Ultra Magnus, and whilst a G1 Magnus is still fine, it's a glorified brick.
Yep.
If you got that with movable pieces,
that's the exception.
You turn that down. What about you, Moff?
Missing Link Metroplex.
Hey.
Another one for you to break.
So you can break it.
It is my figure of the year. I didn't pre-order it. I wasn't even going to stock it. I had no interest in it. I thought I've owned Optimus Prime from when it first came out. What more can I learn from this figure? I've bought like 2 reissues previously. I've got mint copies of it. I don't need this. Then saw it drop, and I was like, oh. Thankfully, Andy Kapow hooked me up, got me my own one, and I was just like mesmerized from the moment I opened it. I was like, this is just incredible. Like, how can a toy that I know so well blow me away so much? It just was like, this is just the way the 3D molding of the forearms, the way his hands work, it's absolutely fabulous. I've never gotten into any of the reissue stuff up until the retro reissues. I've never really had the money at the time they were all out. Previous ones, the brick box and stuff like that. I think for both the Missing Link and the retro reissue stuff, I'm just all in just now, because actually, if you don't get it now, you tend to overpay, and it's actually kind of fun. So as I said, it's the most I've bought G1 in the last year, but I've really enjoyed it. And I am thoroughly looking forward to seeing how the Bumblebee and Cliffjumper feel. Sunstreaker, I've only ever experienced a really poor copy of Sunstreaker, like the original one, so I'm really looking forward to that. The RC, like, and this is the aspect we need to think of as well. Like, at the point that RC came out or was revealed, in the rough same timeline, the Triple Takeover did the episode with Evan Peters, and they were talking about the retro reissue Optimus Prime, and the fact that they had to rebuild that trailer. So it's not just we look at Optimus Prime reissues and go, they could just knock one of them out every few years, like a Blaster, like a Soundwave, like these ones that have had multiple copies. You know, that's the retro reissue line, has been that. Your Blaster, Soundwave, your Insecticons. Hound jumping out of that was an exception. Hound was like, where did that come from? When Evan said they had to rebuild the Prime trailer, that opened up doors, because it means that they're not against rebuilding molds to do G1 reissues, because, as he said, they could just reuse it every 4 years. And for an investment point of view, if you're going to invest money in tooling, you know you can reissue every 3, 4, 5 years' time. That's clever. Then Missing Link goes, well, you know, Optimus was obvious. Like, that's the right call to do that toy. That's the right first one. Bumblebee and Cliffjumper probably aren't as exciting, but they're kind of interesting because it's a mini box. Then they go with Sunstreaker, who's not, as you said, has not had a reissue for all these years. And then they go, well, let's just take that one step further and give you a toy that's never been done. We're going to do RC. And as you said, Rohan, that opens the door up. I can't believe there's anybody that didn't see that reveal and didn't go, could we get a G1 Unicron?
Yeah.
6 months ago, you would never have thought that was a possible conversation. Yeah. Suddenly, that's not it's not a definite. It's not a slam dunk.
It's not a question, is it?
Movie anniversary is 2 years away. Like, if you're going to go big for the movie anniversary, imagine a G1 Unicron. And if you think about it, so to me, Missing Link, and to an extent the retro stuff, but the Missing Link has been the toy line that's probably, from a core Transformer collector point of view, has been the most exciting, because it has opened the doors. Nothing is off the table. There's no G1 toys off the table, because they're doing Sunstreaker, who's molded G1, and now they're actually looking at doing G1 toys and stuff we never got. That's just, if you started this year, there's no way anybody thought that was going to be the case. You just thought they were going to do, Missing Link was going to be new version of molds they already had, just tweaking the mold slightly, not building a whole new mold or building a whole new toy. So to me, it's a line that's the most exciting.
it's updated engineering, isn't it? You know, like you get this, you've got the original toy that still carries a lot of nostalgia, but this is what 40 years of advancement should do, shouldn't it? It's like you can still have those original toys, but things have changed. We've got these lovely sounding ratchets now going in, and it's, you know, it's great, but you wouldn't
An
even
ab
dream
crunch.
of it. An
Which is
ab crunch,
nuts.
yeah.
The thing that
It's great.
The thing that I
Go on, then.
love is the fact that, yes, we're getting the missing link, but it's not having an effect on our Hasbro issues as
Nope.
well. I.e., we're getting a similar kind of thing from Hasbro, and also the updated G1 characters in the, you know, whatever is the latest generations line as well. So we're getting the best of everything. You couldn't really ask for much more, as Moff said, you know, to wake up at the beginning of this year and think we're going to have these characters. Hey, all I really want now is some of the really obscure stuff like that, you know, Guardian robot that I've got behind me, or this figure that I picked up recently, and, you know, other.
What is that? What is that one? I seen your
This-
picture of it. What is it?
So,
That's
so this is go
Dion,
on.
is it?
This is, yeah, it's actually a similar mold to Dion. So this is one of the transporter drones from War Dawn, who transformed into like a Centurion type robot, and part of these guys, the battle droids that were taking on Optimus Prime. Well, it was around PAX and the good guys when Megatron had his first army. So they were all part of Megatron's army before the war, if that makes sense. But Hasbro have never touched them. Takara have never touched them. If Missing Link came out with that stuff, I'd be all over that.
Well, I think, isn't it clues in a name? Missing link. You know, it's filling
Absolutely.
the gaps in for us, and I think it's so funny. Like as you say, it's another rabbit hole to go down. It's nice that they're still finding these avenues to go down. Like it's not just it sounds easy because it's saying it's not just re-releasing the same stuff. Well, it is, but there's so much more to it than that. And I was of a few. I let Prime go, and I'm still fine to let Prime go because I had the G2 Prime. G2 Prime was the only Prime I had, and I had the trainer, and I was fine with it. It played to death, and that was a breakage that I was fine with because his vent stacks are gone and he's utterly obliterated, but through love. But getting it this now, it's just like, oh wow, there is real joy here. There is proper fun.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, you know, if you start throwing out some other figures of this, yes, I can see it filling up the collection, like particularly Missing Link. Particularly if it's like all the things we didn't get, particularly if it's a Unicron and an RC. I like, wow, to try and tackle RC. Wow, what a choice.
Am I right? Because I can't remember. Did we not get an RC G1 figure then? Is that
No, not at all.
No. So there's only just, it was a grey mold where it wasn't even
Correct.
a transforming toy. So it's just like prototype, but they've now using that to try and build a whole new transforming toy. And I know that I think the translation was something like, we are trying to make this happen. We can't guarantee it'll happen, but we're trying to work on it. Why are they going to show off if they aren't confident they're going to do it? Like,
I mean,
why
just
does it
the
waste their money on it?
Yeah, just to have the initiative is brilliant in itself, isn't it?
I think, I don't know. To me, this is going to sound miserable. I think Missing Link works in my eyes because you're improving an existing one. I don't think it has the same for me, doing a figure that was never before. So Prime, we've taken arguably the most famous toy ever made.
100%.
Even not just in this fandom, but around, and we've made it 10 times better. And the Bumblebee, let's just use that as an example. We've made it better. I don't know whether making a articulating version of a G1 toy that never existed has the same weight to me. I kind of go, I don't care about that as much as if they did Grimlock. I mean, I know they've done that fake one. That's not a good example. I get
what you mean. It's not really Missing Link if it's never had that. It's just Link, you know. It's not.
Yeah.
Well, is it not though Missing Link, because it's a figure we've never got, you know, and it's a bit like it's the Missing Link because we've never had a G1 RC and it never got that far. I'm thinking, I get what your point is, Sam. I get you there. But it's a bit like, to me, it's like, well, we've never had it, so it's got to be
Yeah.
plugged somehow.
Yeah.
I think in that instance, the missing link for RC, for example, we just picked that one, is to actually release the G1 figure. Now, they might not have had a finished plan of what that was, but if they then released the G1 figure
Release it as intended.
Yeah, in like the new re-releases they've done, to me that's a missing link for RC because you never had one and now you've got it.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I see your point.
And like with the Unicron, because that was only ever a prototype, wasn't it?
Same thing, yeah.
It was never made, was it?
Correct.
So if they did that and went, look, this is what you were going to get in 1986 or 7, whenever I was going to release it. Here it is. Here's what you would have got in 87. Then I think they would need to do that first, then do an articulated version, because then you've got no comparison to see what it was.
I wouldn't want to buy it twice though. I'd want the articulated version to be the
and that's the thing, isn't it? But I think they'll make lots of them. I mean, there's some of the figures that, and again, to me, I think it's ones where the Prime, like all of us, had such an emotional presence for us for 40 years, because it has. So seeing that in a new version is wow, isn't it? Whereas, I don't know, I'm trying to think of an example of one that if I didn't have it as a kid, I'm trying to think of one. Does it have that same impact? Does Swoop, does a articulated Swoop mean that much to me? Because I never had Swoop as a kid.
See, I think Swoop's a great shout because a lot of people in the UK never had one.
I feel Swoop is a bit of a misnomer because we were starved so much, and my Geiger Power one's the only Swoop I've ever had. Well, apart from Studio Series 86 now, but it's I feel Prime. I don't know. We've probably all experienced a G1 Prime, but the feedback on this is so good, whether it's Prime or Optimus or Sentinel. I can just see more and more figures coming. I think Moff's called it right. I can see a Unicron coming out in a couple of years' time. I think we can get more and more figures. And they're saying that, Soundwave and a fully articulated Soundwave, that's got to be a must, isn't it? Grimlock, you'll do the big six. You'll do the top characters. But
do you think they do a Megatron?
No. I don't think they will.
Yeah.
And that would...
I'd love them to. I don't think they will.
No. And it would be a real stain on it in a way, wouldn't it? Because if they did go Starscream, Soundwave, whoever else, and then didn't do Megatron, but I understand why they probably can't.
I think if they were going to do it, I think they've done it this year. I think if they were going to do it, they would have done it.
Megatron is so hot right now. I mean, on the used market, you're talking about upwards of £200 for a figure. It's just mental. So it is what everybody needs or wants. Sorry.
But it's a fact, it's a gun, and it just won't happen. I'm
But
sorry to say it.
No, agreed.
Japan it will. Japan it can. They've had reissues.
Yeah,
They've done
technically.
the masterpiece. That's the country. If anything's going to do
it can be done.
Because Takara aren't looking at it going, that's a global release. They're looking at it going, that's a Japanese release.
No, because that's why I pick on the likes of Skids. Yeah.
So I just don't think. I don't think if they were going to do it, they'd have done it now. Like they would have. They'd have done it for the 40th. It's frustrating because actually they should have done both of them. They should have done both of them this year. And went, here's your two main characters. The very first point, let's get them out.
Fully articulated. Yeah, you wouldn't have gone from Optimus to Bumblebee. You would have gone from Optimus to Megatron. But you talk about stain. I think we can all agree that Missing Link Wheelie would have been the biggest stain.
No,
Thank you very much. For that.
I know.
I get that. I'd be all
Wheelie.
Yeah, we need some.
I think he'd be a good figure to do. He was so poor in G1.
Yeah.
Don't make me kick you.
We need some Decepticons. But there's not.
100%.
Soundwave's got to come, surely.
Yeah,
Shockwave as well. Come on,
Shockwave would be a great one to do.
Starscream.
Shockwave can they do Shockwave with the
They don't
license?
Own the mold, yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah. That's a good point.
The Seekers are a no-brainer. You get
Seekers
17.
are good.
Seekers are
Yeah.
one, yeah.
See, I think we have answered the question, haven't we? It's another rabbit hole to go down. But they're just so popular, and I think they are here to stay. Well, everything is here to stay as long as there is a market for it. And we've proven over 40 years there is a market for it. And Hasbro is very happy with it. Do you know who else is happy with Hasbro? Elon Musk. So let's get talking about that, shall we? For those who haven't heard, because Graham's got a quizzical look at his face.
All that rubbish.
Elon Musk has because he lives in the wilderness.
Scotland is not the wilderness.
I did not say Scotland. You could live out anywhere. I did not specify. Elon Musk has put a note out on X, Twitter, still Twitter, that how much is Hasbro? And there's a thought that he could purchase Hasbro. Rohan, I guess you got proper. Yeah, you want to go, don't you? So,
God,
what do we think? Do we think this is credible? Is it just pillow talk? And if it does happen, let's speculate. Where does this run to? So go for it.
Look, as a former Hasbro employee, I mean, I know I wasn't
Really?
there.
Said.
I've never mentioned it before. No.
I didn't know that.
What shock! I spent nearly 2 years at Hasbro UK.
Nice.
I have a very strong affiliation and ties to this because of my time there, and many of you have seen my Facebook posts about the CEO of Hasbro, Mr. Chris Cox, and what he's doing to Hasbro right now. Could it get any worse with Elon Musk in place? I mean, maybe there's an argument to say it would be better, potentially, but then let's look at his track record and what he's done with everything else in the world, and probably not. I don't know. I think it's all phony Musk talk, and he's full of crap. But who's to say? Weirder things have happened in this world, and if he did do it, look at the amount of money and backing he's got. It couldn't be a bad thing for Transformers fans as a brand, in the sense that, unless he came in and said, I really hate this brand, which why would he? Then, that's the only negative thing I could think about what would happen to it. But I'm really interested to hear what you guys think.
I'd buy an Autobot branded Tesla, I'll be honest.
Well, even a Cybertruck, really? You want that on your front garden?
I think Cybertruck kind of.
That's officially never going to come to the UK. That's never coming to the UK. He's already admitted it was built for Northern American roads. There's one person, I believe, has brought one over here. So
there's one in London. You can't drive it in the UK. It's illegal.
I think it's just talk. He's just doing that bravado thing. I can't look at it from he wants to make money, right? Like, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not sure Hasbro's that investment that's going to make you that money.
No.
Yeah, I don't see it being that.
Maybe 20 years ago.
Yeah. Toy market's in a decline. Like, collector markets are increasing, but toy market's in a decline. Like, if you go with what the toy, like if you go to toys being what we traditionally think is being toys for kids, it's on a decline. Like, my 6-year-old doesn't want any toys for Christmas. Like, I'm 44 and I still want toys for my Christmas.
But this is what we're hearing, isn't it? So the main consumer for toys is adults, is us with nostalgia and disposable income. But children, no. Why do they want a plastic or a board game of Mousetrap? No, they don't want that.
Weird, isn't it, though, that then Hasbro decided to pander to the younger market so much? I mean, I get it that they're trying to encourage more people, but do you think Elon Musk maybe canter on to the fact that, hey, it's actually the collectors who are spending the money? Should we put a bit more focus on us? I don't know.
What do you reckon, Sam?
I think he's got enough to worry about with trying to go to Mars and trying to run America with Mr. Trump. I think it's all nonsense. And I think someone, because I obviously know Elon Musk extensively well, I think someone in his position with the platforms he has, any type of those conversations, I'd do it. I'd go, I'll buy them. You just flexing, aren't you? And going, well, I could buy them if I wanted to. Anyone says anything about, I'm trying to think of another company that might be rivaling Tesla, but Volkswagen, let's say, are coming out with an electric car that's going to be better than Tesla, someone like him would go, well, I'll just buy a Volkswagen then and solve that problem.
Because he can.
Because he can. Does someone like that really care about Hasbro? I can't believe it.
No.
Yeah.
Well, the rumor I've heard, and as you say, I don't know, your good friend Elon Musk as well, but it's like apparently he's a big, is it Diablo fan or whatever? Doesn't he
like Dungeons and Dragons or something as well?
Was it Dungeons and Dragons?
Yeah.
It's something that Hasbro owns the rights to, and he's a particularly big fan of it. But I do get the impression it's a case of, well, I could buy that tomorrow if I wanted to, and then I've got everything, and the power is mine. He has a tendency to get bored and drop stuff. This is what worries me, is that he could easily buy Hasbro for the sake of buying it, and that could change what we're going to get. And it could alter third party, let's be honest. If he decides to pull the plug on the Generations line, third party's going to be like, all right, we're okay. Maybe he'll go after third party. I don't know.
Yeah,
I think Elon Musk should buy fans' toys.
Yeah.
Oh God, my head hurt you just saying it.
I'd back that. You definitely get dead end straight away.
You definitely get would you let it go? It's never going to happen, all right? You'll get a reissue Superior before you get dead end.
Hasbro's worth $9 billion. He's just
what's their turnover? What's their turnover? Because they've done good. They have done good turnover, like their turnover and profit. And that's, I know everybody goes on about, they're firing people, That's the way of the world. Like, you make profit by cutting down costs or increasing your income. Like
it was $4 billion was their turnover up until September this year, and that was a 20% decline over last year, unfortunately.
What's the profit? Like turnover and profit, two different things. Because everybody goes,
welcome to the evening of the Financial Times here that covers Transformers aspects.
I don't think did they not have record-breaking, like a record-breaking year or something last year, I'm sure.
So 630 million operating profit, which included a margin of 20%, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so I think adjusted, it was up from last year.
But then to go on to another point I was going to mention, which we can kind of piggyback with this topic as well.
Yeah.
The talk of Transformers 1 being the flop, and we've gone over that, so I'm not gonna go back to it. But there is the headline of the new CEO saying that's it. They're not going to make any Transformers films, or they're not going to put the money up for it. So I think, and keep me honest, anyone. Is it a bit like what Sega did back in the day when they kind of got out of making games consoles and said, we're still going to exist in terms of video games, we're just not going to produce the consoles? And it feels like Hasbro's going to do the similar trait. They'll make money off the license, but not necessarily fully front the product. But then to the point you're making of like turnover and growth and how well they're doing, well, clearly maybe they are thinking of things a little bit, because they're probably not happy with how Transformers 1's produced and how that changes things going forward, because they're going to stop doing films, which has made money for them for the last almost 25 years.
Yep, it has. Everything evolves, right? So, like, I think there's an aspect of pulling out of the movies. Is that a good thing for the movies in terms of they don't have to be controlled so much by Hasbro? Does it mean that the movie companies will make more effort to make them a success? Are they potentially relying on them being a success because Hasbro are connected? Because if you look back to the original Transformers movies, and Rohan, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about when we talk about the Toys R Us stands. That you were built excitement. Your kids had excitement for Transformers movie because they get Toys R Us and there'd be huge big bits that go, oh, I want these toys. No, I want to see the film. It went hand in hand. We've not had that since the last three movies have not had that. So Hasbro have not put the backing in to make it a success, but then are demanding the income from it. So I think it's actually probably a good thing in terms of it'll give more control over to the company to go. They'll still license it. There'll still be movies. The same as there's still video games. There's still so many other things. They'll just license it and they'll take it in their own way and have a bit more control on how do we market this? How do we make it a success? What's the income we need to make from it? So I don't think it's a bad thing.
But then this is what I'm trying to work out, because I think you're right. I don't think films will stop. I think there will be another film in due course, but as you're saying, they're not going to finance them, so they're looking for financial backers. Well, what does that mean? They're not prepared to stump the money up front. Well, surely then they're not going to take the full slice of the pie come the end of it.
Absolutely agree with you. It's a case of put your money where your mouth is to the movie makers, essentially saying, hey, we've created the brand, we've generated all this. To an extent, Hasbro kind of said slyly, they haven't said this outright, but I'm reading into it, we've milked this cow as much as we want to. Now it's over to you to see what you can do with it. And I do agree with you guys, and I think that there will be more Transformers movies. I don't know if G.I. Joe will get loads more. I don't know if all the other properties that we've been talking about, Mask and, you know, some of the other bits that we've been really hoping for would come through. Will they get a chance now? I don't know. But I think Transformers will get at least one or two more. Will it be a success? I kind of agree with Moff. I feel like they have to have their own take on it and take it in their own direction, you know, do something different. And if they can do that, then it might spark an audience. Who knows?
Did they give it a time limit? As in, what I mean by that is when they said they weren't going to make any more films, did they say for a
No,
no,
they just said
just
for now,
outright.
because it's a new CEO's come in, so he's kind of wanting to tear
Well,
things up a little bit.
No, he's been there a little while, Chris Cox. But you're right, he
Has
is
he?
changing. Yeah, he's been there for a couple of years now since
Okay, maybe not that.
the last CEO, sadly, Brian Goldner, he passed away from a serious illness very suddenly, and he'd been there for a long time. He was the last sort of remaining descendant of the Hassenfeld family to an extent, even though he wasn't related to them. He grew up working with the Hassenfelds, who started the company, and then so Brian was the last remaining one, and he was the direct executive producer on several of the movies, etc., etc. Chris Cox came in probably 18 months, maybe 2 years ago, and he basically started changing the way in which Hasbro were distributing and pricing their stock. So he's the one who was sort of saying, we're going to put the price points up to begin with, and then we're going to discount really fast afterwards. And we were getting this sort of, the whole game shenanigans and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, from a movie perspective, I think, you're absolutely right. He's the one who's made this decision. He thinks that, the movies are not being profitable enough, and therefore that's the right direction that he's taking it in.
I can kind of get it, in that if this one didn't make as much money as what they wanted it to, and are they kind of going, well, do you know what? If that's the threshold at the moment of what we can make, let's do something else for a while. Let's put movies on a back burner, kind of what Star Wars should do, or have done with a lot of stuff. But just say, let's leave that alone. We've done it.
That's cool, Jets.
And let's do something else. And maybe in 5 years, because movie wise, I don't think it's in a bad place with that last one. You can leave that where it is and go about and do something else, because it as a standalone film, and sometimes they don't need it. I think sometimes they make extra sequels for the sake of it, and maybe they're just going, let's just leave it at that. It didn't. I have a question about the film, but we can come back to that at the end. Maybe that's
I think you've made a really pertinent point there about Star Wars, and Robert Kopp has also made the same point. It doesn't mean that Hasbro won't be involved in the films moving forward. They will, absolutely. It's their property, right? As Moff said, it's a licensed item, and they all still want their royalties off the back of it. Let's be honest, but they're just not going to put in all the money. And I suppose, to me, that means that they're not going to have as much say in the direction in which they go. Maybe this means we'll actually get some really adult themed films, which would be awesome, right?
And it makes sense from a financial point of view. If your return on investment has been poor on these last two films, if you then go to a licensee model where, as you say, Rohan, they'll get their money in the back end, there's no risk. So from a financial business point of view, every one of us, if we were doing that with our pension, for example, and you had two options right now, you would take the option that Hasbro have done. Of course you would, because it's a safer option and likely the more financially stable option at this time. And it can be a very good thing for us, because it could change us to have a much more controlled adult version of the movies. It could be much more less toy orientated, less let's try and sell a toy. It could work out well for us.
That's a fair point, isn't it? Because if someone else comes along and it's not Hasbro, it's not there to drive toys, is it? Because that's always been Hasbro's MO from way back when. And if someone else comes along, well, and it might hit different, mightn't it? So an injection of something different. It's not a death sentence, and that maybe people would first say. Go on, then, Sam. You want to talk about the movie? Take it you mean Transformers 1.
Yeah, and we've spoke about this, and I know it's been spoken about to death, but I just thought I had an idea how I'd improve it, and I just thought, see what you guys think. It's a 9 out of 10 for me. This is the dead horse. It's visually wonderful. I have one complaint around voices. I think the voices, Megatron especially, very well voiced, but too human. Some of the voices, I think that was a thing that took me out of it a little bit. They did voice, it was very well acted, all of it, but it didn't have that, I don't know, there's something a little bit around it. But what I think would have just probably put it to a 10 for me. And this is, I know we have to move on, but I just want your thoughts. At that point, at the end, where someone turns into someone else,
Spoilers.
Yeah, spoilers.
Wheelie turns into Wheeler Prime.
Yes, that bit. Yeah,
Wheelie bin Prime.
Yeah. When I walked out of the cinema, as well as I thought Hemsworth done, because I thought he was excellent. If for that last part of the film, where it was then Cullen's voice, I think it would have been to me. That would have just been the icing on the cake. And I don't know whether apologies if it's already been discussed at other points, but to me, I just thought I was kind of hoping, even when I was in the cinema watching it, thinking, go on, just have his voice finish the film off. And whether that would have been unfair on Hemsworth, because he's done the whole bit.
It might have been, mightn't it? Because actually, in the beginning, and again, I feel like we have covered this before. As much as I absolutely love the film, and I really, really did, I felt Hemsworth did an admirable job. I wasn't so sold from the outset. From the first, I thought, and I'm going to hear Thor. I'm going to think Thor. That's all I'm going to think of. But I didn't, and he got very, and I've said this before, he got very Cullen-esque towards the end anyway, got very deeper in his chest, and it was just like, and I felt if you just brought in Cullen, everyone would have said, just make it Cullen, pay the actors union or whatever, and just put him in. And then kind of what's the point? Because I think Cullen would have struggled with a young Prime. Hold on, Rohan, I know you're itching to go. I know you're itching to go.
No, that's okay.
But it's like Hemsworth did a good adolescence of Prime, like going up to it. I felt it worked quite well. I take the point on Megatron. After a while, I guess I just kind of got numb to it, and it just kind of absorbed for me, and I took it for what it was. I didn't mind it. I know people have made that, but I thought Hemsworth in particular did a good enough job. And let's be honest, you don't want to pay someone of Hemsworth's salary for 7/8 of a movie, do you?
No.
I think you both make excellent points. I think, Sam, you're absolutely right. If it had finished with Cullen at the end, that would have been epic, but it just would have cost too much money, and it wouldn't have worked for the company at the end of the day, and therefore they went in this new direction. Especially if they did have in the back of their mind, we're going to make this into a trilogy or have a sequel of some kind, then that would kill it off.
Then you're stuck, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Now, to just come back to your point, Ian, I absolutely agree with you. I think for the younger version, let's talk about the character that he was playing, Orion Pax, that was the right move. Like from a Hasbro perspective, we needed someone younger, someone different. It had to be something unique, and I think that was really good. I do agree with you on Megatron and a couple of the others as well. For me, actually, the movie wasn't quite as good as everybody here, I think, agreed. It was like super up 9 out of 10 or whatever. I thought it was decent, but I didn't think it was outstanding. I thought it was up there as part of the Transformers franchise, and there were some really good bits and some really good characters. I just feel like with that movie specifically, there were elements of nostalgia and bits and pieces that we could latch onto, and there were some new bits as well which were really good. I feel like we need more of those new bits moving forward, because those are the bits that are going to keep the interest. They're the bits that are going to delve into new areas in the universe, whereas obviously some of the bits that we've seen and done before and over and over and over again, don't get me wrong, I do like to see different iterations of them, but I just feel like if they want to make money out of it,
hard to do as an origin film, though, isn't it?
Oh no, I
Because
100% agree.
You're
Yeah,
very much typecast as to what you can and can't do.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, no, I think they probably did the best out of that element of it that they could, if that makes sense, with the origin stuff. Maybe they could have had more of the other characters involved a little bit more, but it is what it is. It was still good.
Yeah. I think one of the reasons why it was so, I found it so good. I mean, visually, I think just visually it was just epic. But I took my 9-year-old godson to watch it, who I have failed to get into Transformers up until this point. I've managed, to his parents' dismay, to turn him into a Star Wars addict. So I'm very happy with that. Yeah. But I said, "You want to come and watch this film?" And it was a day we got back off holiday, and he came and watched it. And he was sat throughout the whole film forward, watching it, didn't take his eyes off it. And when we come out, he said, "We have to now watch every Transformers film."
Awesome.
And not that made the film good.
You're like, let's start with the last night then. Go.
Yeah. In my head, I'm thinking I've got to sit and watch all those films again. But to which we watched the first one, and that is still the best one and the only good one. But it succeeded in that as a standalone cartoon. And again, my opinion moving forward is that they should all be animated. Transformers doesn't work in live action for me, and I think it was spectacularly done. I just think, do it as a one-off, and that last 5 minutes of Cullen, similar to Darth Vader. If they'd have had Hayden Christensen try and be Darth Vader,
that's
it
a fair
would
point.
work. And you bring in James L. Jones, or the digital voice of him at that time, it worked. And I
think the only challenge I'd have to that is the point you've just made there, having to do the digital voice of James Earl Jones. Peter Cullen's not a young man.
No,
if you're thinking Transformers 1 is kicking off a new franchise, in the nicest way, do you want to go with an older actor? And also, none of my kids know who Peter Cullen is.
No.
Both of my kids know who Chris Hemsworth is. They knew the cast because of what it was. This film was not to kick off our love of the franchise.
No.
It's to try and kick off a new generation. Cullen has that cool aspect for us. He doesn't have that for the younger generation. And I think the bit, like, it's interesting when I hear people talk about trying to compare it, right? So I'd imagine, Rohan, you sit and compare it to the 86 movie and go, what do I like better? Right now, 86 movie is my favourite movie. This is a better movie because this didn't have anything to start you off. See, if you went and watched the Transformers 86 movie with no cartoon behind it, it doesn't work.
You're screwed.
It works because you've built up. You know who Optimus is. You know who Megatron is. That's got all that backing to get you to that point. Transformers 1 starts from nothing.
True.
Like it doesn't really, because we obviously all know the bits, but it has no specific tie-in media for that one product. And it starts you from where they're at, gets you to the end. It goes through that whole bit. You hear their voices change. The Steve Buscemi change with Starscream is genius.
Buscemi's
how his voice, that transformation of his voice to more Chris Latta, and you can see they're all inspired by the G1. You can hear Chris Latta as an inspiration. You can hear Frank Welker for Megatron. You can, or even the Soundwave. You can hear Cullen for Optimus. That transformation through and the gravitas. And I remember watching the first trailer and thinking, going, Megatron doesn't sound like a badass. By the end of the film, D16
he was unhinged,
goes to Megatron. Yes,
Yeah.
and they do that in a in one film. That you don't have that in any other parts of the franchise. That ability to take two people who are so friendly, and you can understand why they get there, and the genius character curve that Optimus is actually the kind of bad guy, like not a bad guy, an evil, but he is not obeying the rules. Megatron's trying to obey the rules. He's trying to be a good guy.
It was a bit of a double turn, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like Hart and Austin, isn't it? It's like
Hart and
Hart
Austin, yes, very good.
It's such a see when you think of the movie, if you think of the movie and compare it just to the movie with nothing else, how can it not be the best movie? Like, it does more in that time frame than any of the other movies. The live action movie, the first live action movie is the best of live action movies. It's better storytelling than that, and it's still not my favorite. The 86 movie is still my favorite movie because I have that emotional connection to it. It doesn't mean
I agree more. Yeah,
you know, my favorite video game is Mario World. Doesn't mean it's the best video game of all time. It's just to have such an emotional connection to it.
You have that better connection to it. But funny enough, Sam and I were talking to Sixer about this at the Transformers store this week. We were talking about, and I said at the time, 86 has got all nostalgia, but is it an Oscar award-winning movie? No, it's not an Oscar award-winning script. It's got a soundtrack to die for. Of course, it has, and it looks great in its cell shading, and it's very pretty. But you have to know the cartoon, and even then, it's like, who the hell's Ultra Magnus? I mean, it looks amazing, but where did you come from? You know,
what's the negative? That was very much the negative for that. Was it struggled because it tried to do that without giving you the backstory, because
you had to you had to develop these connections in 20 minutes, and it was just like, oh wow, and then everyone died, and you're like, what's going on? But Transformers 1 got you all the way along. It helped you all the way through, and you knew entirely who everyone was. Everyone was introduced, given their story, and as you say, the Steve Buscemi change, it was all born of G1. How can we get to that, but do it our own way? And that's what I think, as a story, as a script, as a film, as a feature, I've said this before, it had no dips for me. It did, even when I get to the surface with the Quintessons, it didn't dip. I was like your godson, Sam. I'm watching. I'm engaged.
And just caveat that whole thing. I think my Cullen idea only works if it's a one movie, because I completely agree that you can't. If you have more of them, you couldn't do it because you'd have to keep Hemsworth's voice. I think if it was a one only, that's where it possibly could work. But
it definitely would work. It would have so much gravitas. Yeah.
But a trilogy, you can't do it because you have to keep with the same one. Just interesting about the 86 movie, it's like the cartoon. So the cartoon, the G1 cartoon, is my favorite cartoon ever, probably.
Of all time.
It wasn't very good. If you look at it objectively, there were better cartoons of that era that were out, but that is my favorite by far. It's interesting how that works, isn't it? Because Moff, I'm with you. The 86 movie is my favorite, but one is the best.
I think one is my favorite movie of all time. Never mind, we're just Transformers. But it's definitely not the best movie I've ever seen. Like, I've seen better movies, but it doesn't mean I think I've talked this with all you. Like, the way I look at your favorite thing, whether it be a movie, album, cartoon, video game, it's the one you've watched, played, listened to the most, because you keep going back to it. So your favorite album's the one you've listened to more and more and more. Favorite video game, the same. Favorite movie, I watch Transformers the movie several times a year. There's not many other films I would say. The only other one I watch every year, I watch Halloween every single year. Every single year I watch Halloween because it's my favorite horror movie. But there's not very many more films I would do that with.
A New Hope's that for me. That's my favorite movie, but it's not. I know objectively that Empire Strikes Back is better.
Yes.
Better quality. Well, I would still argue that New Hope is the best one, but I see
Boba Fett.
But
that's a big withdrawal.
Yeah.
I think you made a really pertinent point, Moff, about how the Transformers 1 introduces the characters, gives you the whole story arc, gives you everything in such a short space of time. If I think about one of my favorite movies that I do watch every couple of years, if not every year, outside of Transformers, obviously Transformers #1, the G1 movie, but Tron Legacy. I watched that film in the cinema. I'd never seen Tron before, and I knew of it. So coming into it kind of blind, like you said, they introduce the characters, they build it up, they tell you everything, and it gets you from the beginning of the story to the end, and you're totally engrossed in it. And the visuals are outstanding, and the soundtrack's outstanding. It's very similar in many ways to Transformers 1, Transformers G1 as well. It is exactly what you just described. It is that for me, but probably not the best movie ever made. No, absolutely not. But for me, I love that film. I could watch it again any day of the week, sort of thing.
Yeah,
it's all personal. Everything's personal. Like it's the same as like my favorite Marvel movie is Deadpool. I loved Deadpool from the 90s when he was first introduced. I was a Deadpool fan before it was cool to be a Deadpool fan. That film was so pivotal for me that film came out. It also came out on my birthday, which was the coolest thing in the world. Like I genuinely felt they were making a film for me. It was the first big tattoo I got was a Deadpool tattoo. I don't know if it's the best movie. I think there's better movies, but I have that connection to it, and I think we all have that. We all have our own reasons for loving a thing.
I think you have that point so well made. It's just like, what do you go back to without even thinking? It's like one of my favorite albums, first Linkin Park album, Hybrid Theory. I've listened to it to death, and but you go back to it, even though that there's arguably better albums. Maybe there isn't. That's a brilliant album. But anyway, I think that the film is an absolutely brilliant film. And I think you both picked up on a couple of points I just want to go back to. It's like Cullen not being used. I think that makes sense because whilst this could be a standalone and it could be done full of fans, you end up going into a cul-de-sac because look, the day's going to come. It's not going to be a fun day. It's going to happen. And if he was lined into a film and they decided to do Transformers 2, whatever, and he all of a sudden wasn't around, how the hell do you work that? They shove themselves into a corner. However great a moment it would be, you've got to think about it. And Moss made a very good point. Like, what do kids know? Well, they know Thor, they know Black Widow, they know Steve Buscemi if they've seen Reservoir Dogs or whatever, the Boardwalk Empire. I'm trying to think of anything else. Probably don't know Steve Buscemi.
Daddy.
It's like, but you've got to have a cast that people can relate to, and kids or anyone younger than us is going to have a harder time relating to Cullen. And you're thinking,
of course,
it ticks a box, but it's a small box, isn't it?
Yeah, I think he needs to, or him or the family or whoever who does it needs to sell the rights to his voice like James Earl Jones did.
I think ultimately it will go that way.
Yeah, because the last couple of times it wasn't James Earl Jones. In Rogue One was the last time he voiced properly, and you could hear that.
Didn't he do? I thought he did Obi-Wan, the series, didn't he?
I don't think that would because I think he passed away.
I think that was AI.
Yeah. Or that was AI.
I think it was AI.
Was it?
Rogue One, I think, was his last physical voice, and you could hear it in that it was weak. But
yeah, there we go. I mean, I think there will be more films to come. Whether they carry on, I think full animation is the way to go. And I think Hasbro or our Lord and Savior Elon Musk will have his own ideas as to how they want to take films go forward. But you can't not do films. It's such a money earner. There's less and less.
Maybe they'll advertise Transformers on the side of all Teslas.
Yeah.
Maybe Elon Musk will voice Optimus Prime next.
There you go.
Solved it. Don't make me kick you. Don't make me kick you. I will kick you.
Maybe he'll bring back the GoBots.
That was the last you'll get. That's the last you'll hear of Rohan on this channel. But
I like GoBots too. Don't worry.
That's the last you'll hear of Sam as well. I mean, one final thing that I want to touch on with the Hasbro restart, and we'll make this the last topic, is talk about stomping out KOs or Hasbro going after third party. Now it sounds like going that way. I feel that's a bit of hot air. But do you think that's where they're going to turn their focus? I mean, they threatened to do that before, haven't they?
I'm not. It's too much effort, money, and the companies are very clever at resetting their new names, setting up a new stuff. Again, go back to the people who buy third party in the nicest way. Sam, do you buy your fans' toys and then also go, well, I'm also going to put the latest Legacy figure beside that? Probably not. Like, people have their wheelhouse.
Yeah.
If fans' toys weren't there, would you go and buy Hasbro? Maybe. Like, I buy about everything. I don't define myself as any one thing anymore. I just go, I buy what I think's cool. Whether it be Hasbro, whether it be BKO, whether it be third party, I don't really care. As long as it's something cool that interests me, I'll buy it. But I don't think. I think Hasbro are looking more how can they improve their innards and worry about that rather than worrying about what the third parties are doing. And like, whenever it's been raised with them, I think that there's a bit of respect for some of the stuff the third party stuff do as well. For the engineering point of view, I know the guy that does Skybound, I can't think his name offhand. He was using Magic Square Prime as his kind of bot to kind of get a positioning for drawing. And Hasbro didn't say, no, you can't do that. Just
it's eyes on the product, isn't it? I mean, why would you, unless you're like Disney and you really want blood, and I don't know, maybe Elon would have a different view, but it's eyes on the product. It's kind of I think, and Rohan, I think you'll know differently to this. I think Hasbro look at third party sometimes as a necessary evil.
Yeah.
As a way of drumming up a bit more interest and involvement in the franchise. Because let's be honest, there's a market for it. It keeps us interested. If no one does it, then it doesn't matter. They're not going to buy third party, but they ain't going to buy Hasbro either.
Yep, correct, agreed. And to your points, when I was working at Hasbro, I was right next to the legal department. I did talk to them about these sorts of issues, and at the time, the line was, unless it's a straight KO of one of their intellectual property rights of an engineered figure, it was going to be very hard for them to go after, because of these gray areas of, these third parties are going after the likeness of the cartoon accuracy of a figure. It makes it really, really difficult for them to pull down. I mean, sure, if they're using some of the IP rights, like they're using the name or they're using the character description or something like that, then happy days, yeah, of course. But I do agree with you. I think it absolutely is, no publicity is bad publicity. It absolutely is going to garner more interest into the whole ethos. And yeah, I mean, like, to Moff's point, there are collectors out there who want different things from their figures, and they will collect a bit of everything. They will collect a bit of Hasbro, they will collect a bit of Legend scale, a little bit of Masterpiece scale, a little bit of third party, whatever. Like, it's the best of all worlds, really. Unless a tyrant like Elon Musk comes along and, exactly as you said, gets that hard on for.
He would do it just to spite, wouldn't he?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I think if we think back to what third party really kicked in to be, and it's to an extent it's still that, is it's doing the things that Hasbro and Takara aren't doing for us.
Correct.
And then when they do it themselves, they tend to get dropped. I'll give you an example. I can see, I think it's Fans Toys Phoenix you've got on your shelf, Ian. Is that right? Up the back?
No, you're
is that my masterpiece?
You want it on that's the Takara one. You want that one on Sam's.
Oh yeah, okay. So
That's
Fans Toys Phoenix. Look at the price of Fans Toys Phoenix. That's dropped since the Masterpiece came out, because
since that one's come out,
yeah. So I've got the Masterpiece because I wanted the official, and I've got the official. I hadn't even opened my official when the KO came out, but I still kept with the original release because I wanted Masterpiece Skyfire. You know that, but that shows you that as soon as that figure came out, the aftermarket on Fans Toys Phoenix dropped,
didn't it?
Because people want that gap no longer is there, so they want the official thing. So a third party is doing the things that transfer. Give you the biggest example at any point right now, the New Ages Megatron. They're doing chug scale G1 Megatron that transforms into a gun. Hasbro and Takara will never do that. So actually, boom, that's perfect. That is what third party should be focusing on.
Yeah. Would you remember the first Fans Toys release, the very first figure? It was the trailer for MP1, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And
I've only ever seen that once, and it was so cool to just see.
But that was the gap. That's you should be doing this. We as fans will do it ourselves. And I kind of feel like in many ways, third party could have
Fans
stayed
Project
in
did
that
the same.
lane. They
Fans
could have
Project
just
decided the same.
Yeah, and Impossible Toys. Let's go back to the mid
Yeah.
2000s when they started
going back
coming out.
now.
Yeah, I mean I'm old, right? So let's talk about that, because those were the figures that we were like, wow, the Tetra Jets. We will never see those from Hasbro, like ever. And Hasbro
Look
did
how
it,
long that took.
but it took so long,
Exactly.
20 years,
Yeah.
right? Exactly to that point.
But the Fans Toys Phoenix that Moff just mentioned, that's a great shout, because that was regularly up there for 180 quid plus. I've seen that go for 250.
I've seen
300 in some.
way more than that a few years back.
And as soon as the Takara one came out, you see that for I haven't seen it under 100, but I've seen it about 110.
I have.
And that plummeted.
I've seen it go under 100, and I was shocked. And I was also very glad that I had get rid of all my stock.
Smart man.
But that's true. It is very much that. There is Outrider. Outrider, like, is one that I struggle to shift because
Trailbreaker.
Trailbreaker, because there's a Takara. So
there's a lot of offerings for Trailbreaker, though, isn't there?
There is. But it's kind of the same principle of, like, as soon as there's an official of a toy, you can see it. You can actually see the third parties just go in the market. There's the opposite point, because Fans Toys are bringing Magnus out, and actually I'm seeing people getting, should I get rid of my Takara Magnus? But that's more because in the nicest way, the new one looks miles better. And
I'm still going to keep with my. I'm still going to keep with my one. I love that boy. I'm going to have both of them, and I want to get hold. I want to get hold of the X Transbots one just to see what the crack is. But I just think that's I can't see Hasbro going after it. I think it's maybe a bit of rah speech, maybe a bit of like, we're going to try and shake things up. But as you said, Rohan, to do so, unless it's a complete rip, I mean, the closest it ever came was dropping Unicron Zeta, the most foolish thing they could have done was going after, and this is the thing I've always said, third parties kind of steers, as long as companies know to steer away. When Fans Toys, Robot Paradise released their Soundwave, Takara MP Soundwave, which I've still got, is absolutely fine, but they've been out for plenty of time, and Takara had their fill with it, but Zeta was stupid, and they flew far too close to the sun.
The only thing I'd say against that is that if you've spent all the money engineering a Unicron toy and you're ready for it to go, and then Hasbro do that, do you go, crap, if everybody buys this, we've got no market? Like, can you sit on that shelf and go, let's just leave that money? Fans Toys were in a position where they could. Zeta Toys maybe weren't, and they had to. They were pushed into a corner and went, we have to do this.
Maybe.
I've heard people say they brought that out because of the Unicron toy was out. Well, no, because there's no way. Look at the engineering. There was no way they went, oh, look, they're doing a Unicron. We're going to go and do one. They had that ready to go. And they were forced to announce it and release it. It could have just
been unfortunate timing. I get what you mean, and I do think it's very much down to the fact it was the biggest Transformer. It was a HasLab funded project, and it's Unicron. If that was Wheelie, no one would care. People would laugh.
Correct.
Exactly. But it's the fact that it was, and not to look the same, but it was still two Unicrons. And it was just. I mean, I feel Zeta shot themselves in the foot, but I take your point as they possibly were too far down that point. It's like, it's going to end up in the bin, or we can't sit it. What do we do? Put it in storage for 2 years? We have to get it out, get some money out of it. But it turned out to be a somewhat short-sighted decision, because they kind of went dead and dormant. Third parties in general went dormant for a long time, because that's the closest it's come.
Yeah.
I bought it. I got that Zeta one. It's good.
Yeah.
I'd like to get it. I just got no room.
Not that. Yeah.
I bought it, sold it, bought it again, sold it, and then bought a different coloured version of it.
Oh, good lord!
That's
the interesting of Hasbro couldn't go after them. Couldn't. That's a bit. What do you? If you go after Fans Toys and you say you're copying us, what are you copying? Because there's not a definitive image, is there? The cartoons, every frame was different.
Yep.
The Sumbo chart that people use doesn't look like half of it anyway.
Nope.
And there's so many iterations of all the characters now that you go, what are you copying? And
did
it's
they
the
go
most
after
they
all
could
the
do.
people on Etsy? Did they go
Yeah.
after all? Did they
Yeah.
go after
Yeah.
looking? Did they go
Yeah.
after all?
Exactly.
That where do you stop? Like, where
Yeah.
do you actually
Yeah.
stop?
TFN's dealer
I'll-
hall would be pretty empty if that magically they went after everyone. There'd be a lot of people that can't do what they do.
The way they should
And-
go
and
after them is make better toys. Make toys
Yeah.
that compete.
Yeah.
Like if a third party are producing the toys that you want to produce, go and produce them,
Yeah.
because it will stop them. That's how you break them out.
Well,
They
coming
should-
back
And
to
that's a
the
comment that
Elon,
Nick came out with earlier. Is just saying like third party pushes Hasbro to do better, which I'd like to
100%
think
agree with that.
Hasbro
I agree
Takara,
with
yeah.
I agree.
coming back to the Elon Musk comment, then if he came in, do you think he would then say, let's go buy all these third-party companies and incorporate all this engineering into Hasbro and then make Hasbro better? And then
If you
would
can't,
more?
can't defeat them, buy them.
Yeah, exactly. If he got, well, he's got the money to do it, right? I mean, but then
Yeah, it's a question of whether he cares that much about Transformers in particular. If he's just going
He
to stick
cares
to his
about
Dungeons and
money.
Dragons.
cares about
Maybe
money
he
Always
and
cares
your
about money.
Maybe Elon Musk is the
They still make money. They still make money even if third party are there. They do.
yeah,
They
100%,
do.
100%.
Elon
Okay,
Musk
guys. Well,
owns
we've probably covered a lot of topics tonight, more than I actually had written down. But thank you very much for coming on. I'll close off the stream here. So go around the table for what everyone's got coming up or what they've done recently. We'll start with you, Rohan. I mean, you've recently been at TFM in Reading. It was good to
I
see you
have.
there selling your wares.
Likewise.
Do you have plans to be up in Manchester?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it would be good to come up to Manchester. I've not done it before, and based on how the last couple of conventions have gone, I only am going in one direction, which is more. Work closely with Graham and PrimeTime, and get up there and be part of the community, because I feel like for me, I'm losing a little bit of touch with the toys a little bit these days, but I'm staying involved with the whole being in part of the dealing element.
Yeah, that sounds good. Okay, well, good to see you up there, and I'll look forward to seeing you again.
Thank you.
Moff,
You too.
Black Friday sale.
Black Friday sale is on until the end of Monday. 20% off anything that's in stock. Doesn't apply to Lookins Tees, doesn't apply to the newest releases, doesn't apply to pre-orders or TFUK con tickets. The sale's going well. Some stuff is sold out, but there's still loads of opportunities. So you've still got 2 days. What is the code? I'm trying to remember the code. Friday 20. Friday 20 to check out. It's 20%. And you can do multiple ones as well. But no, after a great month, going to Reading was fantastic. I joked with Billy, when the closing ceremony, they talked about how far people would travel. People wouldn't travel to a Scottish one, so there wouldn't be a Scottish convention. But when they were pitching the idea, when they were pitching the idea of the Reading one, somebody made a comment about would Scottish folk go, and he was like, I know one idiot will, and he knows that I'm first on that list. Like if TFN host, they can't go any further south, surely. So I think I'm okay with if I can get to Reading, I can
don't know
do
about that.
anything.
I mean, kit is available. Kit is available. That's all I'm going to say.
But yeah, no, I hope to grow the relationship with TFN. I'm talking to them about different opportunities and moving forward with it. PrimeTime is now under me and me alone. So there's lots of opportunity for growth. Rohan and I have talked about how can we work together more and do more together as well. And I know we've done more. I've done more with all you actually last year. Ian, I know I've done more with you, and then have brought Sam on board with TFUK Con, and that's only going to go from strength to strength. So no, everything's good. And then I've got my own wee YouTube channel, not quite as big as yours or anybody else's, but our wee PTTV.
It's already tagged in the description, mate. Don't you worry. It's already done, man.
It's a great channel.
No, it's I feel very probably like you, Rohan. I kind of don't connect with my toys quite as much. Like I've got a box, a pile of stuff under here, a pile of stuff in the house. I'm not getting around to opening, but I'm more connected and more involved with the community than I've ever been. And I feel very privileged and very lucky to be a part of things like this. When I get invited on the show and stuff, I feel very, very lucky. So, thank you very much for having me tonight.
Most of the stuff back here is purchased from you or enabled from you.
Hold on. You enabled me before I enabled you.
I did.
Yeah,
you did.
It's Primetime's Toys is the only UK supplier of TransArt toys. Why? Because of him. I watched this video of Rat Trap, and I texted him and I said, I need this. I bought it, and I literally, as soon as it came in, I went, oh, I'm in trouble. Oh, I'm in trouble.
Yeah. we do enable ourselves, but you're the one with the toy shop, so if you should carry the lion's share of the guilt, I think. Yeah.
Okay, deal.
But it's great to see you so front and center at TFN these days. It really is. So Reading was another example of that. So long may it continue. Sam, pretty good exposure for yourself and on Instagram of late. Do you want to announce your recent milestone?
I've done quite well. It's been a busy week, isn't it? Or week and a bit. I think Reading and London, and I'm going to finish it off by going to watch Man United win tomorrow at Old Trafford, hopefully. So, but yeah, it's been good. Instagram seems to be going very well at the moment. I don't quite know why, but that's doing well. To my sins, I think I've just decided this week to start TikTok, because I've got lots of videos that I do in here that can adapt to TikTok, and realized how TikTok's editing and cutting software is just ridiculously incredible. I think I've gone down a rabbit hole there that I probably wish I hadn't, but I'm going to just try and play around with that. And just keep growing the Instagram account as much as I can, because it seems to be...
you've cleared 7,000 followers?
I did, yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, last night I think it went over that. So yeah, I'm on a wave at the moment, just because I think the store helped. I think I posted...
I was going to say your store video over 30,000.
No, it's 40 now. It's
40, is it?
It's 30,000 on TikTok as well. It seems to be going quite well. I don't know why.
Great, man, isn't it? And your presence at the shop was requested and well received, and long may it continue, leading to more exposure for yourselves, and that shows in your followers as well. So really well done to your efforts for that.
And I think, just as everyone said, being more involved, they're just going to the conventions and getting to know people more and more over the last few years of going to the TFNs. It just makes all this so much better, because otherwise it's just a room where you have toys and you don't do anything with it. But being able to talk to people like yourselves on here and at events is what makes it the best. It's the best bit about it, isn't it? And having different opinions about all this great stuff and talking about it is what I like. So
it could be a very insular hobby, but actually I think the four of us have got the proof that it doesn't have to be. We've built friendship and community and out with ourselves. Like I'm miles away from any of you, but I talk to you on a very regular basis.
But we talk all the time, don't we?
Yeah.
Exactly,
It's great.
yeah.
I think the whole thing's brilliant. So
nice.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming along, guys. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching. I'll put everyone's details to their channels and pages in the description below. And as always, I will see you on the next one. End stream.
Right.